and the water streams down his tan features in a way that starts to make him look even more exotic. Okay, Rivian, this is not the time we check it out, Franz! It's Jessica, and welcome back to Chess of Blades. So in the last episode, we ended up making out with Franz in the hallway, but I'm glad now that there's like consensual understanding between the two of them now, because Rivian definitely wants him to do it, but he's like, I can't really trust him yet, because we don't really know much about Franz, except that he's secretly a royal, a nephew of the king, and it seems like we were also told that the aunt of Rivian was the murderer to the ambassador of Peruvia, and I don't believe that. And a lot of you were commenting that when the aunt got knocked out the first time we met, someone probably stole her key just to get into her chest and put the bloodstain in there, which makes a lot of sense as to the reason why that's happening. Also, I don't really think this lady is stupid that she would go as too far to like kill someone else without, you know, a very real reason to do it, so for sure, I'm pretty sure it's not her. Anyway, let's continue. After staring contemplatively out my window for a few minutes, I head into the hallway, slowly closing the door behind me. Today's the last day of the celebration, so it's the only chance I have to catch the murderer and clear my aunt's name. I'll try to investigate some more and find something that'll give me a hint as to who framed Valora and how. And then, tomorrow, I'll finally be able to flee this hellhole and head back to home where I belong. I'm going to seriously think twice before even leaving the house again. Rivian's me when I go outside. I make my way from the guest room to the upper level of the main hall, hearing the chattering and voices grow steadily louder. It's a welcome change from the eerie silence of last night, so despite my dislike of crowds, I find myself actually a little relieved. When I reach the main hall, I can quickly see the number of guests that are gathered here to talk and to be served elegant finger foods, courtesy of the numerous servants drifting around with trays. The rain outside is pouring down, and it doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon, so the castle will probably be packed most of the day. I grab a cup of tea and some strange but delicious sweet cake that I've never seen before and tuck it into while I walk around the upper balcony. I'm hoping for a glimpse of Silas, Alistair, or that brawler man, since they might be able to give me a few more clues. This cake is really good. As I chew with the sweet sponginess with relish, my eyes suddenly catch a familiar black ponytail standing not too far off. A ponytail attached to its owner, of course, whose tall, slim figure and bestial face I recognize clearly. Who is it? Swallowing the rest of my cake, I hurry over to the table Linnaeus is furtively lurking around. When I get close, I resist the temptation to tug at his tempting fluffy-tied black hair and instead just clear my throat loudly. Linnaeus! Just the man I wanted to see. Oh god, we probably scared him. He jumped a little, whirling around to face me with a startled, hand caught in the cookie jar sort of expression. Why are you doing so shadily over here? Wait a moment, is that wine? It's not even noon yet!
Well, excuse me, Mr. High and Mighty.
I love him, he's so salty.
If you had to detain your own king's blasted advisor, you'd be drinking your
Is he drunk? In his hand, Linnaeus holds a half-empty glass of wine, and it looks like he was about to reach the bottle when I snuck up on him.
Besides, I'm just getting a brief break from trying to solve this ridiculous affair. I'm not looking forward to questioning your old witch of an aunt, let me tell you.
At least we agree she's an awful old lady then, but I assure you, Linnaeus, there's no way she could be the murderer. You must know that. He lets out a heavy sigh, taking a long drink of the ruby liquid in his cup, before pushing up his glasses and turning his gaze reluctantly towards me.
I can't deny the facts, Varrison. The cloth hidden in her room, along with the maid's testimony of being threatened by a suspicious guard, right after you encountered that guard last night, is about as incriminating as you can get.
Yeah, I figured Linnaeus wouldn't think like she did it, because he's the Inquisitor, he has to think logically about this, and like I said earlier, it doesn't make sense for this lady to just do that.
Do I actually believe she did it? No. But the politics of the matter demand that someone is punished for this crime, or else our relations with Peruvia will grow even worse.
So wait, it's just like he has no choice, right? The king wants somebody to atone for this crime, and it's just like if they can't find him, we're just gonna take the aunt. That's basically what he's saying. He sounds unusually grim for once, and I can tell that he's not happy with the position he's in. As much as I like to be angry with him, it's hard to hate the man just for doing his job. The real culprit is still out there, you know. I'll be damned if I don't get him before the celebration is over. And when I do, you're writing my aunt an apology letter. An amused, curious smirk crosses Linnaeus' sharp features, his eyes glimmering at me with interest behind his glasses.
Am I now? Well, best of luck to you.
He's like, oh, what is this boy doing?
I've already questioned everyone involved, but perhaps you want to start with your attacker from last night, who firmly testifies that your aunt collaborated with him to murder the ambassador. Or maybe you could ask Valora's own ward, that boy, Alistair.
He's suspicious of Alistair too, isn't he? I get the feeling that he is. But I think the guard was just saying, like, oh, that lady teamed up with me so you can get out of there. My eyes widen at Linnaeus' added description of the boy. Alistair? My aunt's ward? Oh! I didn't even realize he said that. Okay. Well, it is true she's currently childless. Her only daughter ran away from home. And come to think of it, Alistair said something about his guardian being in a bad mood the other day, didn't he? Oh, so that's what he was talking about. Because at first I thought he was talking about Celeste, but it's her. Perhaps she took him off the streets, and that's why he's so jittery and anxious all the time? Poor fellow. If I had to spend every waking hour with Valora, I'd be probably at my wit's end too. I see. Well, I suppose I'll start stifling around some clues then. By the way, Linnaeus, why were you giving me the odd look the other night, back when I was being detained in your office? The Inquisitor only shrugs at that, topping off his glass with wine before slightly turning away.
Why indeed? I knew you had neither the guts nor the spine to kill a man.
Thanks?
But if you were in the gardens during the murder, you were almost certainly seen by the true culprit. I figured I could keep your impulsive self safe for the rest of the party, locked in a guarded room.
Oh.
But clearly, you prefer to rely on that bastard Chaumont instead.
He's so jealous.
A questionable decision.
I see. Okay, he wanted to keep us prison so that nobody could kill us, and then possibly capture the murderer, since the guy would probably come after Rivian anyway. Linnaeus shakes his head disapprovingly, gazing darkly with mistrust.
Luckily for him, everyone seems to have forgotten about the nasty political affairs he was rumored to be caught up in a few years ago. Oh well, it's your reputation, Varrison.
What rumor? What did he do?
And your life.
With that markedly cool, flippant statement, he pushes up his glasses and turns away, striding briskly towards the stairs. Even though my first instinct is to brush them off as petty dislike, Linnaeus' words remain ringing distantly in my ears. I've yet to hear a positive thing about Franz from anyone. It's difficult to ignore all this suspicion when it keeps piling up. I eye the wine table for a longing moment. No, Rivian, getting completely snozzled is not going to help your investigation. No time for drinking. Taking a deep breath to stifle my self-control, I turn away and force myself down the lower level. More importantly, I need to see about meeting with Alistair and that blasted guard. Although, there is something I haven't even considered before. What if, by chance, there is still a clue around the place of the crime? Assuming that's the gardens, where the ambassador was found, surely there won't be anyone wanting to snoop outside the rain either. It's a bit of a long shot, but it seems to be like the only few opportunities I have to try it. I casually make my way over towards the garden exit, trying to not look particularly out of place. It seems like a lot of ladies brought their parasols down, expecting to go outside today, but thanks to the rain, a number of them are neatly arranged in a rack not too far from the garden doors. I make sure no one's directly observing me, then make a subtle reach for one of the parasols. They're not exactly the most weatherproof thing, but it's better than just going out and just getting right out soaked. Luckily, the guard who normally would have been standing by the door is standing a far distance away, thoroughly distracted in conversation with some blushing young man. God, no wonder Ardan managed a position in this joke of a place. Oh my god, that's so mean! I quietly slip into the gardens, hastily raising the parasol soon after to keep the rain from immediately assaulting me. Heavy droplets soon saunter in my makeshift shield as I walk the same path I did a few nights ago, this time taking care to avoid standing in front of any windows for far too long. Recalling what Celeste told me last night, I attempt to envision where the ambassador must have walked into. She said he had gone further down the path from where I was standing. So if I keep heading this way, then... what? When I round the corner of the garden, my eyes catch something a little unusual. One of the bushes is oddly squished, as if someone fell into it. The surrounding grass is a bit patchy, like if it was kicked up or scuffled against. Considering how meticulous well kept the rest of the garden is, I think this would be the place the ambassador fought off his murderers. I lower myself down into a crouch, patting the grass and squinting to see if anything else looks unusual or out of place. The parasol is starting to drip a bit, and I'm going to feel a little silly if I get caught out here doing nothing but a show myself. Ugh. Ho ho, what's this? When I reach inside the bush, crush the leaves, my hand suddenly brushes something that feels metallic. I take a hold of it and pull it out carefully, revealing it in my palm. A bracelet? Oh, I thought it was a knife. I was about to say, don't touch that! A pretty silver one, with fine enough flingeries to make any girl jealous. Could it be, then, that the woman really did commit this crime? The ambassador was certainly male, and it's a fake guard. Was the other half of the conspiracy, then it only leaves one individual left. I don't see how it would be a girl I know, though. Celeste, Emily, Valora, Hazel. Although, come to think of it, this bracelet looks awfully familiar. Haven't I seen Valora wearing this? Oh. A sudden rustling noise makes me jerk upright. My heart skips a beat and I slowly step backwards, lowering myself a little bit. I thought no one would come out here in this weather! I hold my breath, not daring to move an inch, praying for whoever's out there to go away. Please tell me it's just Franz.
Is that you?
Thank God! I thought it was some, like, the murderer! A wary voice calls out to me. Moments later, a tall, tan figure steps out of the bushes and approaches me, shaking his head. Franz! You just gave me about the scare of my life.
Do you care to explain why on earth you're skulking around in the rain, holding a lady's parasol and a bracelet? You don't cross-dress on the sly, do you? Come to think of it, I'd love to see you in a skirt.
Oh my God, Franz is into cross-dressing! Holy shit! I barely managed to resist the urge to crack my soaked parasol over Franz's head, and instead just glare at his delighted smirk. Ignoring your bizarre conclusions, I was looking for any clues that could help out our search. Oh, he looks so sad though. What the hell? I don't like this. Franz's eyes light up at that, and he saunters closer, his large boots sinking slightly into the soaked earth with each heavy step.
It seems my clever little kitten got a step ahead of me. I was planning on coming out here earlier before I heard about that unpleasant business with your aunt. You did get the news, didn't you?
When I nod grimly, Franz rubs the back of his neck with a hand, shaking his head sympathetically. The raindrops have matted his dark hair on his forehead, and the water streams down his tan features in a way that serves to make him look even more exotic. Okay, Rivian, this is not the time we check it out, Franz! I found this bracelet, actually, and it reminded me of one of Valora wears, which is, you know, not very helpful with the whole proving her innocence business. I show Franz the bracelet, when he frowns thoughtfully, rubbing a hand against his cheek.
Not a very encouraging sign. I doubt they'll let you ask her about it, considering she's locked up for questioning. But there might be someone else who could tell you if it's the same one. It doesn't look like there could be many other clues here, though. And the rain has probably ruined any residual evidence that might have been left behind.
I can't help but study Franz as he leans down by the bush, scanning keenly through the grass. He carries himself with a practiced calmness, like he's done this sort of thing numerous times before. Have you investigated a lot of crimes in the past? It seems like a strange activity for a member of the royal family to be involved in. Maybe that's the rumor that Linnaeus was talking about. Maybe something bad happened to him, and maybe he was blamed for it? Because he did say, if you associate yourself with him, you're gonna tarnish your reputation. So maybe he was falsely accused of something? I don't know. Franz pauses, shooting me a look of shock. Oh, that's right. I didn't mention I knew that he was a Peruvian royalty. Silas mentioned your bloodline the other day. I wasn't sure why you kept it so hush-hush. He gradually pushes himself up to his feet, pursing his lips for a moment. Franz really doesn't like talking about this, does he?
Well, I'm not exactly proud of it. Nor am I very welcome in Peruvia any longer.
Oh.
Although I have no desire to go back.
So maybe I am right. He was, like, accused of something. His grim tone catches me off guard. He seems unusually vulnerable right now, and I wonder if this might be my opportunity to learn more about him. Ooh, press him further or try to cheer him up. Oh no. I mean, yeah, I want to know more information, but at the same time, I kind of feel bad. Like, we shouldn't really be doing this. I feel like it's not as much as Franz jokes. It's clearly that he's hurt on the inside. Usually those characters are like that. The ones who joke a lot or not serious are the ones that are actually like suffering on the inside. And definitely Franz is someone like that. And considering we're like kind of romancing him, I kind of feel bad to be like pressing information. I feel like he'll just tell us in the end regardless. So maybe I should just try to cheer him up. My curiosity flares and I desperately want to press him for more details, but now is probably not the best time for that. He doubtless invaded me anyway. Well, who needs Peruvia, right? The chocolates aren't even that good, you know? Why is that supposed to be a joke? My attempt to brighten his demeanor entices a slight brow raise from Franz, before his affectionate smile curls gradually on his lips.
Really? I thought they were considered to be the very best. You don't need to lie to make me feel better, kitten. Although I appreciate the thought.
Oh, I'm sorry, Franz. I wish we could hug him. I feel bad. He reaches out to teasingly flick my nose, and I bat his hand with a huff. After a moment, however, Franz exhales a soft sigh, shaking his head a little.
Since you've already learned about my family, I suppose I could tell you that, well, I knew the Peruvian ambassador. He was an awful man.
Oh, okay, so he was a dick. His voice darkens a little once more, and he runs his finger through his rain-slicked hair. He was awful. Surely you were a little glad when you discovered that he was snuffed out then.
He deserved it, certainly. What frightens me more, though, is that I'm starting to think the disciples didn't murder him just because of his status. Which means they may have another target as well.
My confusion deepens as Franz glances off to the distance, seemingly musing himself more than anything. I guess for a while that he's known more about this case than he's letting on, but there must have been a reason why he avoided divulging it all to me.
Ignore my ramblings. I'm just getting paranoid from being wrapped up in this mess.
Are you saying that you're the real target and not the guy? His demeanor quickly lightens again. Franz ducks under the parasol, which is barely big enough for me, let alone both of us, and curls an arm around my waist.
Let's go back inside, shall we? Unless you want to try kissing in the rain.
Yeah, sure. Yes, let's go inside. That's not a kiss. Stop making that face at me. Franz chuckles at my flushed cheeks as we head back towards the castle. Internally apologizing to the poor lady whose parasol I borrowed, I leave the unfortunate accessory outside. After peering through the door's window to ensure the nearest guard's back is turned to us, Franz motions me to follow him into the hall, and we sneak in without drawing too much attention. While I'm fairly dry, Franz is dripping somewhat ludicrously all over the polished floors, and I give him a disapproving sigh. You're making the servants' lives a hell, you know. You should really go dry. Oh, hello, Hazel. Rather than inspectingly, I notice a set of bright pink pigtails bouncing towards us and turn to face the source. Hazel comes up to stop between us, an alarmed frown on her face.
Rivian, you're all wet. And you... Who are you?
Franz stares at Hazel and Hazel stares at Franz. He doesn't really seem to know what to do. Has he never seen a little girl before?
I'm called Franz, miss. How do you do?
Somewhat awkwardly crouching down, Franz extends one of his large hands to Hazel. His movement is tentative, like someone trying to entreat a stray cat.
Oh, I'm Hazel. How'd you do?
She firmly grasps his hand with both of her tiny own and pumps it down. She pumps it up and down in an energetic shake.
Don't break my arm off now.
Oh, it was cute, actually. It's hard for me to believe my own eyes, but Franz actually appears to be flustered, or at least somewhat unsure of himself. He didn't act this way around Celeste. Is it possible that he isn't used to being around children?
Are you Sir Rivian's friend? If you're not, you should be. He's a very nice man.
Aww.
Gave me a pastry and everything.
Aww, Hazel, you're a good kid.
Sir Franz, do you need a towel? I don't think Silas would be happy if he saw you getting the floor all soaked.
Hazel points to where the puddle of water is forming around Franz's boots, pursing her lips together.
You're right. If it wouldn't be too much trouble, then please.
I won't be long. Don't you dare move, though.
After sternly eyeing Franz, Hazel turns and rushes off towards one of the side corridors, the pattering of her footsteps lightly echoing in the main hall. It isn't long before her little shape disappears and I turn to Franz with a laugh spilling out before I can stop myself. So the smooth-talking rogue gets tongue-tied around children, is it? Who knew? Franz shoots me a light glare, still visibly embarrassed. A gleeful sense of having finally gained the upper hand for once brightens my mood considerably. Is it because you feel guilty about using your normal crafty tricks on them, or perhaps you've forgotten what innocence is like?
That's enough out of you.
Oh, no. I think his incident is involving a child. Something happened. Sounding more sheepish than angry, he pinches my cheek playfully. Perhaps I was close to the mark, though. I've never seen him act quite so unsure of himself before. I decided to push the subject further, but a smirk still creeps over my lips when Hazel runs back a minute later, clutching the towel almost as big as she is.
I'm back! Oh, you've really gone and messed up the floors now, sir.
She's right, the growing puddle is hard to miss. Well, Franz is just downright embarrassment, aren't you? Go on, get toweled off like a wet dog you are.
You two are really intent on bringing me down.
They're so mean to Franz, especially Riv, god damn it. Letting out a sigh, Franz lowers his head a bit, bowing before Hazel like she's some sort of princess. She is! Hazel clutches onto the towel with determination, then reaches out to start drying off Franz's soaked hair, standing on her tippy toes so she can reach. The scene really does resemble a girl drying off some large hound, or perhaps a wolf, who's just come from the rain. It's surprisingly a touching moment. I didn't think Franz of all people would ever put himself in such a vulnerable position before others. And I suppose there's something rather endearing about how awkward he stands there, subjecting his hair to the enthusiastic ruffling from Hazel's towel. Finally, after Franz starts looking a little subtly drier, Hazel takes a few steps back to survey her work and with a satisfied nod.
There, now you won't ruin the carpet.
Franz let out a slightly embarrassed cough, smoothing back his ridiculously ruffled hair with one hand and scratching the side of his neck.
Thank you, Miss Hazel. You've saved both the carpet and me, it seems.
Hazel beams in response and tucks the towel under her arm, seeming rather proud of herself.
Well, I need to be getting back now, but you two take care of each other, okay?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't startled when Hazel addressed Franz and me firmly. Well, I mean, come on, she's not dumb. I know she's a kid, but she can clearly see these two are together.
You're both my friends now.
Aww.
So, Franz, make sure Sir Rivian doesn't get into any trouble.
That's rich coming from you. Even as I muttered doubtfully under my breath, Franz let out a soft chuckle all of a sudden, dipping his head in a nod.
Of course. I'll make sure to keep him safe. Don't you worry.
The unexpected gentleness of his tone leaves me momentarily speechless. Who are you, and what have you done with Franz?
Good. I'll see you later then. Don't go back into the rain.
Bye, Hazel! With a playful chiding waggle of her finger at us, Hazel turns to go off and hurry again. She runs so much, I don't think I've ever seen her walk anywhere before. I exhale a gentle sigh, feeling slightly warmed inside, despite the lack of progress we've made today in our investigation. If only I could be as chipper and energetic as Hazel about everything, life would surely seem a lot easier. Well, as I thought as she was. You still seem to be a bit damp. You better go change your clothes before you catch a chill. I don't want you sneezing all over me tonight.
Yes, dear, just as you say.
Franz offers a sly wink to me, then slips up towards the side staircase, presumably aware of the alternate path to get to his room without climbing the very visible main stairs. I watch him disappear into the distance with a fond smile growing on his lips before I even realize it. Shaking my head, I smooth back my slightly wet bangs while contemplating what to do with the bracelet that's still in my hand, glistening slightly with moisture.
Sir, you're getting the floor rather wet. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to...
Is that Ardan?
Riv?
Casting at the sounded voice of the guard nearby, I quickly civil towards him. Ardan's back! He disappeared, remember in the beginning, so it's nice to see him. Guessing the sudden voice of the guard nearby, I quickly civil towards him, only to see Ardan approaching, blinking at me in surprise. You weren't here a little while ago. Didn't they put you on emergency duty or something?
I'm only briefly filling in for a friend of mine. Some horrible events happened last night, you see, so I volunteered to keep an eye on things.
He quirks an eyebrow at me curiously, his eyes flicking over the dampened parts of my person.
Were you out in the rain? A bit of a strange pastime. I could have brought you an umbrella if you'd asked.
Oh my god, an Ardan! I let out a nervous chuckle and fiddled with the bracelet in my hand, shrugging in reply. Just exploring a bit. I'm a big fan of rainstorms and all that, you know.
What's that you have? Looks like the same bracelet Lady Valora wears. Awfully sorry about what happened to her, by the way.
Hold on a moment. She's wearing it now? You mean this is a duplicate? While I cut him off, Ardan tilts his head at me in surprise before nodding a little confused.
Yes, I helped escort her to the holding cells. It fell off her wrist, so I picked it back up and gave it to her. I commented how pretty it was, and she told me how she'd gotten 2 of them made. One for herself and one for her daughter.
Oh, what if? Because Rivian said that her daughter ran away. What if it's like some messed up revenge thing where the daughter is just like trying to fuck over her mom or something? Yo, that's messed up.
It seems her daughter's estranged now, unfortunately, but she implied she'd given the second bracelet to someone else. I didn't get a chance to ask more before she went back to yelling about how unfair her detainment was, you see.
This new piece of information clicks strangely in the back of my mind. I don't want to jump to conclusions, but there's a very uncomfortable possibility I sense opening up. Very interesting. Well, thank you, Ardan. Always useful when I least expect you to be.
Thank you, I think.
I clap him distractedly off the shoulder, offering him an encouraging nod before turning my head off towards the stairs.
Wait, Riv! The masquerade's tonight, you know. I don't suppose you'd be interested in joining me?
Oh, honey, I feel so bad because he's still in love with Rivian. Oh my god. His hopeful voice calls out to me from behind, but I can't bring myself to look back at him. I already have a date. Sorry. Ooh. Oh no. Yikes. A sense of deja vu feels over me once I offer a distracted reply, but my thoughts are too preoccupied for it to stay in my mind very long. Oh my god, that was so brutal! When I return to the upper floor's hallway, I head to Linnaeus' room to try to ask him some questions. His response, however, is so brusque and annoyed that I'm sent away before very long, without much of any new information. I try Valora's chambers next, but no one in the guard is very reluctant to let me inside. After sniffing around for what feels like an exhaustive hours, though, I don't turn up any new clues. It probably doesn't help that the guard searched and left it a mess, of course, but it also seems like it wiped off any evidence, save for the conspicuously incriminating bloody cloth, of course. Then, when I attempt to find Alistair's chambers, I met with no success, and my request for the guard to visit with the last night's attacker is met with a blatant refusal. Exhausted and frustrated, I eventually head to my own chambers, flagging down a servant on the way to requesting a light meal to be brought to my room. I sit by the fireplace while mulling over my food, wondering if there's anyone left I can ask for any hints left to uncover. But it's quite clear that Valora was expertly framed, and the conspirator didn't leave enough behind for me to clear her name. I'm starting to think there's only one person who could be the culprit, but at the same time it seems so infeasible that I'm doubting myself. I feel like the only thing left to do is wait. Since the murderer plans to strike again, it'll be surely tonight. Tonight. The masquerade. I probably should start getting ready soon, shouldn't I? Ugh, dancing. I theoretically groan to myself, and I can't help but feel a bit excited if nervous. Look at me, getting flustered about dancing. I thought this day would never come. I reluctantly pushed myself off the chair and set about readying myself, taking out the mask I brought the other day and admiring it. I wonder what kind of mask Franz will be wearing. To my surprise, the remaining time until evening flies by, and as I practice my waltz steps and try to recall my various training, stumbling over my own feet half the time. It isn't until I put the mask on my head in my bedroom door that my pulse suddenly starts to quicken, and I attempt to swallow my nervousness. Franz is already down there, I presume. Should I wait for him to come and escort me? Should I go myself? What ridiculous is this? I'm not some girl who needs to be escorted. I'm perfectly capable of doing things myself. I mutter under my breath, and I head out of the corridor, hurrying towards the main hall. The sound of the crowd is even louder than it normally is, suggesting the masquerade is close to the beginning. I let out a long exhale to try to calm my nerves, slowly descending to the grand staircase, so that I don't trip and end up splattering at the bottom. My heart beats as if it's trying to win a hotly contested race, to the point where I almost feel a little lightheaded. Whether it's from the idea of dancing or the idea of dancing with Franz, that I don't know, and I'm not sure if I want to. Here we go again! I step through the ballroom doors and onto the floor, biting my lip and adjusting my mask anxiously. The swell of music greets me, and it is some smattering of colorful dresses, suits, and the massive shapes in all designs, one of exquisite in a macabre or mysterious way. Just think, In the sea of masks is a murderer, could be dancing without fear, waiting for another chance to strike. Everyone looks so different in their exotic costumes that I can't recognize a single familiar figure in the crowd. That is why they're going to strike tonight, because no one can tell who is who. But rather than anxiety, the feeling that wells up inside me is something dangerous, exciting, thrilling. This is the true chessboard of the court, and we are all its faceless pieces. Can a piece become a player? Do we dance in our own accord, or because of someone's whims? I think at last, understanding why my father sent me here, and what he wanted me to witness firsthand. This is a trial by fire, and I'll be damned if I won't behold my own among the pawns, and carry on my fear of the Varrison name.
My, how ravishing. A little prince all lost and alone. Might I ask your hand?
They're gonna dance! A low central purr rumbles in my ear from behind. I slowly turn to see Franz standing before me, half of his face hidden by a rustic roguish mask that leaves his eye as accented like two mischievous emeralds. I'm sorry, my parents told me not to talk to strangers, even the especially dashing ones. A slow grin spreads over Franz's face, his gaze focused on me with enough intensity to be embarrassing, and he slips one arm around my waist. Eee! They're dancing! Look how terrified Rivian looks! Oh my god. Together we step onto the whirling carousel of guests, and I feel a rush of excitement that I never thought I could get from the thought of a dance. Franz takes my hand in his own and places the other upon my waist, apparently unable to keep himself from giving a playful squeeze. I rest my own free hand atop his shoulder before hesitating, offering up a silent prayer that he's experienced enough in this for both of us. Perhaps he recognizes my nervousness, since the wolfish smirk on his lips widen, and his eyes shine with the powerful confidence of someone truly in his element.
Just relax. Imagine it's only the two of us, all alone beneath the
He's
moon.
very romantic though, I can't lie.
For an audience of stars.
He leans into a murmur against my ear, and my eyes slowly drift closed for a moment. Then, as I reopen to glance at Franz, he starts to guide me steadily into a steady waltz. His move is dominant, but not overpowering. The dancing lessons I take at home, but tried to forget, now resurfaces in my mind. My steps start to come naturally, and I fall into rhythm with Franz, barely having to think about anything other than not flushing under his infatuated gaze. I look up into his heavily lidded emerald eyes, wondering what numerous secrets they hide behind the surface. There's so much he hasn't told me, and I suddenly find myself wanting to know it all. Despite the ridiculous balding, flirting, and casual flippancy of his attitude, there's a true passion behind that facade. And I find myself growing addicted to the longing, hungry way he refuses to tear his gaze away from me.
Oh, what an adorable couple they make. I wish I could find someone to dance with me like that.
Oh my god.
The joy of young love. Oh, to be that age again.
They look so good together! The music shifts from the waltz to a faster, livelier piece, but rather than being cut off by guard, I find myself naturally able to quicken my steps. Our movements quicken as we settle into the perfect harmony, and Franz sometimes twirls and lifts me of a sudden, daring way, like he's trying to see if I can match his unpredictability. But when I stop trying to focus too much, and instead just let the rhythm of my competitive instinct take in reins, I easily spin with his twirls, and find the pace in my steps each time as he set me down after a lift. The tempestuous music begins to feel more and more like a breathless exotic dance, and I occasionally hear a few giggles or thrilled coos from a few exuberants every time we add an extra move to our quick steps. In the midst of my dizzy thoughts, I can't help but notice how unusual it is for us to spend so much time together without exchanging a word. And yet, it doesn't feel strange in the slightest. The romantic in me wants to say that our dancing speaks volumes, like increasingly impassioned love letters being written with each step. The cynic in me, of course, wants to point out that I probably couldn't say a word even if I wanted to, considering how breathless I am from this exercise. Okay guys, we're gonna end the episode here. That was good. I still feel bad for Ardan though. We completely blew him off in the way that Rivian was like, I have a date now. I feel so bad. But now we have a little bit more clues, finding the bracelet, and then when Ardan mentioned that she already had the bracelet on her, and so it was a duplicate made for her daughter. But Rivian doesn't think it's his daughter? I don't think so, because the way he's implying it is like, probably not. it's a long shot, or it's probably someone who knew the daughter, trying to get revenge or something. I don't know. And then there's the fact that Franz has a very, like, sad backstory. I still don't know what it is, but I think it's involving a child or something along the lines of that. And he's not welcome in his home kingdom anymore. He's actually exiled, so I wasn't expecting that either, but that explains why he's so cryptic and weird at the same time. And anyway, let me know in the comments what you guys think. And press the like button for prayers towards Ardan, because seriously, that was so mean what Rivian said. Thank you once again to AGirlAndAGame for sending me a game key for me to play this. And if you guys enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to join the companions. And if you would like to help support the channel on Patreon, the link is in the description. You can also support the channel for free with gawkbox.com/AGirlAndAGame. All you have to do is make an account, open it up on your mobile, download the games on my page, play them, and then you will donate real money so I can continue this series and continue the channel overall. So yeah, this is getting good. We're close to the end. I can already tell the way that Rivian is speaking and stuff like that. So maybe the next episode will be the last. We'll see. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye! Full Metal Alchemist live action movie, the trailer. Did you guys see the trailer for it?
Wait, what?
Oh, there you go.
Oh my thumbnail like that.
Develop another character. Video game deaths can be tragic. Here are 6 sad character deaths from video games. Roman, Grand Theft Auto 4.